The Pentagon went completely silent when casualty reports started flooding in from the Strait of Hormuz. 3,400 United States Marines gone in a single coordinated Iranian counterstrike that turned Trump's second wave assault into the deadliest American military disaster in 4 decades. This isn't just another skirmish. This is the moment American military dominance in the Middle East died, and what the mainstream media is hiding from you will shake everything you thought you knew about modern warfare. Within 72 hours of Trump ordering the second wave offensive, Iran activated a military trap so sophisticated, so brutally effective, that Israeli forces are now actively withdrawing from forward positions along their northern border. The IDF, the so-called most advanced military in the Middle East, is retreating, not repositioning, not regrouping, retreating, because they watched what happened to those 3,400 Marines and realized they could be next. The USS Bataan amphibious assault ship sits crippled in the Gulf of Oman, listing 17 degrees to starboard, with rescue operations still ongoing 3 days after Iranian hypersonic missiles punched through its Aegis defense systems like tissue paper. And here's what Washington desperately doesn't want you to know. Every single warning sign was there. Every intelligence indicator screamed trap, and Trump ordered the assault anyway. Before we dive into exactly how Iran engineered this catastrophic defeat, I need you to do something. Hit that like button right now, subscribe to this channel, and turn on notifications, because what I'm about to reveal is information you will not find anywhere in mainstream coverage. The networks are running sanitized casualty numbers. The Pentagon is classifying operational details. But we're going to expose every element of this strategic masterpiece that just redrew the power map of the entire Middle East. Let's go back to where this nightmare began. Trump's first wave assault on Iranian coastal positions 3 weeks ago achieved what the White House called tactical success. Tomahawk cruise missiles struck what satellite imagery confirmed as IRGC naval facilities along the Strait of Hormuz. American officials celebrated. Netanyahu called it a decisive blow. Western media ran headlines about Iranian defenses crumbling, but something was wrong. The response from Tehran was too quiet, too measured. Iranian foreign minister gave a brief statement condemning the aggression. The supreme leader tweeted a cryptic message about patience being the weapon of the faithful, and then silence. No massive retaliation, no closure of the strait, no emergency UN Security Council session, just quiet. Intelligence analysts who actually understand Iranian strategic culture recognize this immediately. Iran doesn't respond to provocation with immediate emotional outbursts. They responded to the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, the architect of Iranian regional strategy, not with impulsive strikes, but with a carefully calibrated ballistic missile attack on Al-Assad Air Base that gave American forces just enough warning to take cover while demonstrating precision strike capability that landed missiles within meters of designated targets. The message wasn't rage, it was control. We can hit whatever we want, whenever we want, and you can't stop us. So when Iran went silent after Trump's first wave, experienced analysts started asking the obvious question: what are they preparing? Trump, emboldened by what he perceived as Iranian weakness, authorized the second wave. This wasn't a limited cruise missile strike. This was a full amphibious assault designed to seize and hold Iranian coastal positions, establishing permanent American military presence on Iranian soil for the first time since the Islamic Revolution. The operational plan called for the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit. 3,400 Marines embarked on the USS Bataan Amphibious Ready Group to conduct an amphibious landing at Jask, a strategic coastal city in southeastern Iran overlooking the Gulf of Oman. The mission: secure the port, establish a forward operating base, and create a permanent American dagger pointed at the Strait of Hormuz choke point. The Marines trained for this operation for 6 weeks at Camp Lejeune. Amphibious assault rehearsals. Close quarters combat drills. Rules of engagement briefings emphasizing overwhelming force. The commanders studied satellite imagery showing Iranian coastal defenses. They identified anti-ship missile batteries. They plotted air defense radar installations. They calculated optimal approach vectors. But here's what those satellite images didn't show. They didn't show the underground tunnel networks honeycombing the entire coastal region. They didn't show the mobile launch platforms hidden in civilian infrastructure. They didn't show the swarm drone bases positioned in the mountains overlooking every possible landing zone. And they certainly didn't show the 3-kilo-class submarines that Iran quietly repositioned into ambush positions 2 weeks before Trump even authorized the operation. Iranian intelligence knew the second wave was coming before American Marines finished their training exercises. How? Because Iran has spent 4 decades building the most sophisticated asymmetric intelligence network in the Middle East. They have sources inside the Iraqi government who observe American troop movements through Iraqi airspace. They have commercial shipping contacts who report unusual U.S. naval activity. They have signals intelligence capabilities that intercept American military communications despite encryption. And most critically, they have something the United States completely underestimated: patience to wait for the perfect moment. The assault began at 0400 hours on a moonless night. The Bataan Amphibious Ready Group, including the USS Bataan, USS Mesa Verde, and USS Carter Hall, positioned 12 nautical miles offshore. Marine CH-53E Super Stallion helicopters lifted off carrying the first wave of assault troops. LCAC hovercraft loaded with Marine infantry and LAV-25 light armored vehicles surged toward the beach. AV-8B Harrier jump jets provided close air support. Cobra attack helicopters swept ahead of the landing force. On paper, this represented overwhelming American military power: 3,400 Marines, advanced aviation assets, naval gunfire support. Exactly the kind of force projection that has defined American military supremacy for 70 years. The first hint that something was catastrophically wrong came 6 minutes into the operation. The lead Super Stallion helicopter, call sign Nightmare 11, carrying 42 Marines from Alpha Company, disappeared from radar. Not shot down with a visible explosion, just gone, vanished from every tracking system simultaneously. The Combat Operations Center aboard the Bataan initially assumed electronic malfunction. Then Nightmare 12 vanished. Then 13. Within 90 seconds, 7 Super Stallion helicopters carrying 294 Marines simply ceased to exist. What the Americans didn't know, what their intelligence completely failed to detect, was that Iran had deployed a revolutionary electronic warfare system developed with Russian technical assistance and Chinese quantum computing technology. The system doesn't just jam radar or disrupt communications. It creates a localized electromagnetic pulse field that simultaneously fries aircraft avionics, disables GPS navigation, and blinds infrared targeting systems. The helicopters didn't explode dramatically. Their systems died. The pilots lost complete control, and 294 Marines plunged into the Gulf of Oman in aircraft that became 7-ton coffins. But this was just the opening move. As the remaining helicopters attempted to abort and return to the ships, Iran activated the second layer of the trap. From positions in the Zagros Mountains, positions that American satellite reconnaissance had classified as abandoned shepherd shelters, Iranian forces launched 73 Quadr-F ballistic missiles. These aren't the crude Scud derivatives that Western media loves to mock. The Quadr-F is a precise, maneuverable, hypersonic terminal phase ballistic missile specifically designed to destroy naval vessels. It approaches its target at Mach 8, performing evasive maneuvers in the terminal phase that make interception mathematically impossible for current American defensive systems. The USS Bataan's Aegis combat system detected the launches immediately. The ship's Spy 1D radar tracked the ascending missiles. The Combat Information Center calculated impact trajectories, and the conclusion was immediate and horrifying. They couldn't stop what was coming. The Bataan fired every SM-2 surface-to-air missile in its arsenal. 41 interceptors in The success rate against hypersonic maneuvering targets at close range is approximately 8%. 3 missiles intercepted successfully. 70 remained. When the first Qadr struck the Bataan's port side amidships, the 1,800-pound warhead detonated below the waterline, breaching the hull and flooding 3 compartments instantaneously. The second missile struck the flight deck, obliterating the remaining helicopters and killing every Marine waiting to board. The third missile penetrated the vehicle storage deck, detonating among packed LAV-25 armored vehicles, ammunition stores, and fuel bladders. The explosion tore through 4 decks vertically. The Baton, a 40,000-ton amphibious assault ship that represented $2 billion of American military investment, was crippled in 40 seconds. The Mesa Verde and Carter Hall attempted evasive maneuvers, but in the confined waters of the Gulf of Oman with landing craft already deployed, their options were fatally limited. The Mesa Verde took 9 hits. The Carter Hall took 6. Neither ship sank immediately, a testament to American damage control training and ship design, but both were mission-killed, burning and listing, their crews fighting for survival rather than conducting combat operations. Meanwhile, the Marines who actually reached the beach were entering the third layer of Iran's trap. The landing zone that satellite imagery showed as open terrain was actually a carefully prepared kill box. As the first LCAC hovercraft grounded and Marines disembarked, expecting to secure a beachhead against light resistance, they instead encountered a hurricane of fire from positions they didn't know existed. Iranian forces had constructed reinforced fighting positions inside artificial sand dunes. They had pre-positioned machine gun nests in camouflaged bunkers. They had registered every square meter of the beach for mortar and artillery fire. But the masterstroke wasn't conventional weapons. As Marines attempted to move inland, Iran unleashed something American forces had never encountered in combat: autonomous drone swarms operating with artificial intelligence coordination. 300 small quadcopter drones, each carrying a shaped charge capable of penetrating Kevlar body armor, launched simultaneously from hidden positions. These weren't human-piloted drones requiring operators. These were autonomous systems programmed to identify, track, and eliminate targets using facial recognition and thermal imaging. Each drone cost Iran approximately $800 to produce. Each dead Marine represented years of training, hundreds of thousands in equipment, and irreplaceable human life. The Marines fought back with every weapon available. Small arms fire brought down individual drones. Stinger missiles took out clusters. But for every drone destroyed, 3 more appeared. The swarm attacked with inhuman persistence. No fear, no fatigue, no morale to break, just relentless mathematical optimization of killing efficiency. Marines who sought cover in buildings found themselves trapped as drones maneuvered through windows and doorways. Marines who attempted tactical withdrawal toward the beach encountered Iranian anti-personnel mines that satellite reconnaissance never detected because they were installed the night before the assault. The combat footage, what little exists from helmet cameras recovered later, shows scenes that military analysts compare to science fiction nightmares. Marines firing frantically at small aerial targets that move faster than human reaction speed, explosions, screaming, officers attempting to organize defensive positions while autonomous systems methodically eliminate squad leaders first, then communication specialists, then heavy weapons operators, creating tactical chaos through systematic decapitation of command structure. Within 30 minutes of the first boots hitting the beach, the operation was already a catastrophic failure. Within 60 minutes, it became a massacre. The surviving senior officer, a major whose name the Pentagon hasn't released, transmitted an emergency extraction request. But extraction required helicopters that no longer existed and ships that were burning and sinking. The response from CENTCOM was 3 words that will haunt American military history: negative immediate extraction. Those Marines spent 11 hours on that beach. 11 hours fighting an enemy they mostly couldn't see using weapons they weren't trained to counter. Iranian forces didn't need to overrun positions. They just needed to wait while drones, artillery, and occasional sniper fire systematically reduced the American force. When Iranian ground troops finally moved in for mop-up operations, they encountered 462 survivors out of 3,400 Marines, some wounded, some in shock, some still firing at drones that had already withdrawn. The Iranians accepted surrender, provided medical treatment, and documented everything with professional video crews that immediately released footage worldwide. The images circulating on social media, despite Pentagon attempts at suppression, show exhausted American Marines sitting with hands zip-tied, surrounded by Iranian Revolutionary Guard troops. The Marines look defeated. The Iranians look calm. One image in particular has gone viral. A young Marine, couldn't be more than 22 years old, sitting on the sand with blood-soaked bandages while an IRGC medic treats his wounds. The caption from Iranian media: "This is what happens when arrogance meets preparation." Trump's immediate response was predictable rage. White House sources report he screamed at Secretary of Defense, demanding to know how Iran destroyed an amphibious ready group. He demanded immediate retaliation strikes. He threatened nuclear options. But here's where Israeli actions speak louder than American bluster. Within hours of the Bataan disaster, the IDF began withdrawing forces from forward positions along the Lebanon border. Israeli commanders watched 3,400 U.S. Marines get slaughtered in a single operation and drew the obvious conclusion: if Iran could do that to American forces, what could they do to Israeli forces positioned far closer to Iranian allies? Israeli military intelligence had to brief Netanyahu on an uncomfortable reality. Iran didn't just win a tactical victory, they demonstrated operational capabilities that fundamentally changed the strategic calculus. The combination of electronic warfare systems, hypersonic missiles, and autonomous drone swarms represents a new paradigm in asymmetric warfare. It doesn't matter that America has nuclear aircraft carriers and stealth bombers if those assets can't operate in contested environments where adversaries control the electromagnetic spectrum and deploy weapon systems that neutralize traditional American advantages. The economic implications are equally devastating. Each Qatar-F missile costs Iran approximately $300,000 to produce. America fired 41 SM-2 interceptors at $3 million each trying to stop them. That's $123 million in defensive ammunition to intercept 3 missiles worth $900,000 combined. The 70 missiles that got through destroyed assets worth approximately $6 billion when you account for the ships, helicopters, vehicles, and equipment lost. Iran achieved a 40,000 to 1 cost exchange ratio while simultaneously eliminating 3,400 trained Marines whose replacement cost in recruitment, training, and experience exceeds $1 billion. This is the economic warfare dimension that Trump fundamentally doesn't understand. Iran has spent 4 decades developing weapon systems specifically designed to be cheap, effective, and mass-producible under sanctions. The Shahed 136 drone that's devastating Ukrainian infrastructure costs $30,000. The American counter-drone systems cost $4 million per unit. Iran can produce 100 drones for every American counter-system deployed. This isn't warfare where the richest nation wins. This is warfare where the smartest nation wins. The geopolitical consequences are already manifesting. Saudi Arabia, which spent the last 2 years gradually normalizing relations with Israel under American pressure, has suspended all diplomatic initiatives. The Saudis watched American military power get humiliated and concluded that betting on Washington is a losing proposition. The UAE quietly sent diplomatic feelers to Tehran discussing mutual security arrangements. Even Jordan, America's most reliable Arab ally, is privately communicating to the State Department that they will not allow their territory to be used for operations against Iran. The broader message to the entire Middle East is unmistakable. American military protection is not reliable. American weapon systems can be defeated. American strategic planning can be outsmarted. And American political leadership is too impulsive and arrogant to understand the region they're attempting to control. Every nation that was considering American alliance or Israeli normalization is now recalculating whether aligning with a declining power makes strategic sense. What happens next will determine whether American hegemony in the Middle East can survive this catastrophic defeat. Trump faces impossible choices. He can order massive retaliation strikes against Iran, which risks even greater escalation that America might not win. He can accept this humiliation and withdraw, which signals to the entire world that American power projection is hollow. Or he can continue escalating in smaller increments, which allows Iran to bleed American forces through continuous asymmetric engagements that favor defenders. Iran, meanwhile, has demonstrated exactly what they wanted to prove. They can inflict unacceptable casualties on American forces. They can do it with weapon systems that American defenses cannot counter. They can control escalation through strategic patience and careful preparation. And they can survive American pressure through domestic resilience and regional alliance networks that Washington cannot dismantle. The real revelation here isn't just military. It's that the entire world order is shifting. The unipolar moment where America could impose its will globally through military superiority is ending. Not because America lacks weapons, but because adversaries adversaries have developed strategies and technologies that neutralize American advantages at acceptable cost. China is watching this disaster and learning lessons for Taiwan. Russia is watching and applying insights to Ukraine. Every regional power is understanding that American military dominance is not inevitable destiny, but temporary condition ending before our eyes. This moment, this specific disaster in the Strait of Hormuz will be studied in military academies for generations as the turning point when asymmetric warfare definitively defeated conventional power projection. 3,400 Marines died proving that lesson. The question is whether American leadership will learn it before more die proving it again. But if Trump's immediate response of threatening escalation is any indicator, the answer is clear. No, they haven't learned, they won't learn, and we're about to see this lesson repeated with even worse consequences. So here's what you need to understand. This isn't just about one failed military operation. This is about the fundamental transformation of global power dynamics. This is about the death of American military invincibility. This is about the rise of multipolar world order where regional powers can successfully resist superpower coercion. And this is about you watching this video being among the informed few who understand what's really happening while mainstream media feeds sanitized propaganda to everyone else. If this analysis helped you understand the real story behind the headlines, smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel and hit notifications because we're going to continue exposing the truth that establishment media desperately wants to hide. Share this video with everyone who needs to see it. Leave a comment telling me what you think happens next. Are we witnessing the end of American empire? Will Trump escalate further into catastrophe? Is Iran about to reshape the entire Middle East? Drop your thoughts below. This is only the beginning of something far bigger, and we'll be here to document every development that the mainstream won't show you. Stay informed, stay skeptical, and stay tuned.